Okay, so as you can see, the location has changed slightly, um, and you are not being recorded from my computer. You have been upgraded to iPad temporarily. Also, I can see myself, which is not quite used to that just yet, but it's been a little while without a video. So as I have mentioned in the past, eventually we were going to catch up, and the once a week uploads are now no longer going to be the case. So we've worked through the backlog officially, and now we're going to be uploading whenever I record a video, which could be very infrequently. I'm looking back at it. It looks like my last one was February 20th. So it's been over a month since my last video, and I apologize for that, or my last recording rather. So I apologize for that, but it's kind of the nature of this thing is that I'm gonna have times where I'm busier, gonna have times when I'm a little more relaxed, and it's just been one of the busier portions. So it's been an adventure. So what has happened since then? Also, why the change of scenery? I'm currently at CAA. This video will be uploaded when I get back. It's currently day one. It's the Thursday of CAA. So that's pretty cool. Getting a little live upload, and actually right out there is the courtyard and everything, so pretty neat stuff. I'm not gonna upload this one live because I don't know, maybe I'm just weird, but I don't like people knowing exactly where I'm at. But yeah, so this is a little update on that. So it's been fun so far, pretty cool stuff. I've recognized a few faces in the crowd, it's been pretty cool. If for whatever reason, I guess not for whatever reason, but if you ever see me out in the crowd, and you're like, oh, it's the guy who does my CAA Journey, don't be afraid to come say hi. Trust me, it makes my day. It's only happened the one time, but it made my day. So don't be afraid if you see me in the crowd, or if you end up coming to NSU Jacksonville, don't be afraid to come say hi. I'll think it's really cool, and that's my motivation for making these videos, because I wish I had these videos when I was starting out. So doing my best to provide that for other people. So, row meat and potatoes, what have I been up to? So I've got my calendar on my phone. So the last one, I don't have that. Oh well. Let's see. Had a couple exams since then. Had an I&M exam. That one we covered some pretty cool stuff on that one, actually. That one had some cardiac stuff on it, which I was pretty excited to see. That class is pairing really nicely with lab currently. So if we're learning about it in I&M, it's currently matching up with our classes, which is pretty cool. So we're getting to actually learn about it. Ooh, is it 10 minutes? Okay, we're getting to learn about it in class, and then depending on where your lab is, you could almost just go straight from I&M into the class, into lab, and do it. So I'm really happy about that. I like that it's pairing up well. Some more uncommon stuff in that it's not everyday stuff, it's kind of specialty. But we've kind of already covered the non-specialty stuff. I feel like the first 2 semesters are laying the foundation, and then this third semester, again, I'm only like halfway through it, but it's been more of the specialty stuff you're not going to see every day, stuff that might be a little bit more uncommon, not the bread and butter stuff. We're kind of past the bread and butter. We do touch on some bread and butter things, but it's a little less common, I feel like. I'd be curious to ask my classmates how they feel about that, but either way, I've had clinicals basically every week since then, which has been pretty cool. It's not the same site yet. We haven't switched just yet, but that is coming up soon. I gave my SLS presentation. That was pretty fun. Ooh, sticking out. My topic was basically anesthesia and recreational drug usage. So talking about if a patient's acutely intoxicated on cocaine, what kind of management strategy do you need? Do you need to change anything? If you need to change something, what do you need to change, and how do you need to change it? As well as just how to recognize signs and symptoms. So I like that. That was a pretty good presentation. I kind of flew through it, though. I'm not good at giving like a slow-paced presentation yet. I kind of just start reading and then don't slow down until I'm done, and I finish early, and I don't like that, so I'm going to be working on that. But we'll just have to see. So I did that. I had a pharmacology exam. That one... What was that one on? Oh, okay, it was that one. covered some stuff on there I'm not super confident in, I'll be honest. There's some things that I feel like I should have gone a little more in depth on, and there are things that I feel like I went a little too in depth on. So in a sense, I feel like I misbalanced it, kind of. I think that's the best way I can put it, is I feel like I put effort into things that weren't horribly relevant, and the things I was thinking, oh, there's not much application on those, there ended up actually being application on them. But I know what to do going forward. I need to go back and kind of hit my old study strategies for that class. Still surviving though, so that's all that really matters at the end of the day, right? Let's see. Had an anesthesia phys exam as well. That one, that exam, that class as a whole. So what I tell everybody during orientation, I guess I haven't really done an orientation with anybody, but like during interviews and things like that, I've talked to people, they're always like, oh, what are your hard classes? There are two main categories of classes, at least for us. There are memorization classes, and then there are classes where it's heavily application based. So an example of a memorization class is something like pharmacology. The only way to know what cifepime does is to learn and memorize what cifepime does. There's no way that you can figure it out just by looking at the question. There's no way. You could maybe be like, oh, but I know this one's cefazolin, so is that cifepime? It doesn't really work like that. Or like, I don't know, nicardipine. There's no real way to figure it out. You just have to know it. The other type of class is application classes. So, I'm tapping my leg. Application classes, those are ones where you have to understand a concept rather than an individual fact. So for instance, cefazolin used commonly for ortho procedures. That's not really an application. You could get into that depth, but past a certain point, you just have to know that it's kind of black and white. Whereas a class like anesthesia physiology, you're given a system and you have to apply that system to other things. So it's less of, pulmonary hypertension is bad because it causes congestive heart failure. It's not that linear. And also it depends on, anyway. It goes more along the lines of, trying to think of how I can word it without it trying to give anything away. But it's basically more along the lines of, you have a concept, so pulmonary hypertension as a concept. An example of a question might be, and this was not a question on the exam, I don't remember the exam questions. It would be something along the lines of, how might liver failure contribute to congestive heart failure? And you'd have to know how to tie it back in and really kind of chase that lead down. And there's a ton of different ways you can get it, in the sense of there's many different ways to arrive at the right answer, but you have to understand the system that gets you there and how those two things connect. And it's kind of a challenge, but at the end of the day, it's important for us to know what happens in the human body and how we can fiddle with it. It's well and good to know that, okay, they have pulmonary hypertension, you can give inhaled nitric oxide. That's great, glad you know that. But the next question that you're going to get asked is, why? Why do you do that? And that's what kind of separates people out. And I don't mean it's pass-fail if you don't know the answer to that. What I mean is, I feel like our program tries to focus on, they don't want you to just be a drug monkey. They don't want you to just be a tube monkey. They don't want it to be a one-trick pony. This happened, I do this. I don't know why, but I do it. It's their heart rate's high, let me just give Esmolol. That's good, but if you don't know why it's bad or why you're doing that one treatment over another, you're ineffective in the long term, because you can't manage complex pathologies and have a level of understanding of it that this job requires. It's kind of a complicated thing to wrap your head around if you've never been through it, in the sense of, well, why does it matter if you still arrive at the correct answer? That is a somewhat valid criticism. However, again, you want to have somebody who's well-rounded and understands the reason behind something. So if you're teaching somebody how to drive and they're like, oh, you'd use a blinker on a turn. It's like, well, why do you use a blinker? It's like, I don't know. You use it to tell other drivers what's going on so they can anticipate your changes and you can avoid a potential accident. It's important to know the why so you know how to apply it better in future circumstances. And that's really what that class is. As a whole, that class is, you know it does this, but do you know why it does this? And I like that. That's kind of more my style of class. So is there a hard class? Well, it kind of depends on what you're good at. If you're good at just point blank memorizing 20 different drugs and what they do, great. Pharm is going to be easy for you. If you're bad at just memorizing but good at applying and tweaking variables in a system, you can be better at anesthesiophysiology. So is there a hard class? Well, it depends on what you're good at. I happen to be better at applying a system and running through it like that. And then we also had an APP exam. I like that class. I like the way it's delivered. It's a very practical class, more of in the sense that it's easier to relate back to what I've already done. Pharm, I haven't seen half of these drugs. I haven't. I mean, half the antibiotic, 3/4 of the antibiotics we learned, I've never seen them in the drug cart. For something that we're learning in anesthesiophysiology, like pulmonary hypertension, I've never really gotten to see too much pulmonary hypertension. I mean, I've been in the OR a handful of times, so it kind of makes sense. But a class that's very hands-on in terms of, oh, I learned about that last week and we're learning, or I saw it last week in clinicals and now I'm actually doing it, that's APP for me. And I really like that. For instance, I did, I'm not saying what procedures. I'll say this then. I helped out with a case, and then the next week, I'm sorry, I got that backwards. Yeah, I had a case I was helping out with, and then the next week we learned about it in APP, and I had already done it, so a lot of it was familiar. It was just like, oh yeah, we did do that. Oh, and that's why we did that. I really like that it's, you can see it right there. And I'm not saying you can't see the other classes, you definitely can, but it feels more overarching. It's kind of a 10,000 foot view rather than, oh, we're going to examine this one drug, or oh, we're going to talk about this one pathology. And that's kind of what I like learning about these days. So it's been pretty cool. It has been pretty cool. As for what I've been doing in clinicals, I don't think I brought my little notebook that I have of talking about like what I've done. So I'm sorry about that. But let me just go from memory. Again, I'm not saying what site, I'm not saying any patient identifier, not going to do any HIPAA, anything, so don't even ask. I'm not even going to say what case I did, I'm only going to say what I physically did. So I'm not going to say, oh, I did a liver transplant. I'm not even going to get close to that, just because I'm not taking any chances. So that being said, what have I done? I still haven't done many IVs. But I think that's more of down to my clinical site. Some of my classmates have done several. I just haven't gotten the opportunity to. Where I'm at, regional anesthesia is not done by CAAs, so I haven't had much experience with that. So that means I haven't really done any spinals, no blocks. We haven't even had our block course yet, though. But so what have I been doing? A lot of intra-op management. A lot of, oh, they're, hypertensive. How do we treat this? Do we take them deeper? Are they in pain? What is our management strategy going to be like for that? A lot of hypotension, like, oh, you need to give, why would you want to give ephedrine over neosynephrine? A lot of stuff like that. Quite a few intubations. Done quite a few of those. I've done CMAC, I've done McGrath, and I've done direct. For my first few weeks, I was really doing only McGraths because that's the one that has like the little camera on it. I think I showed you guys that at some point. I was really only doing those because I wanted to get comfortable with the backup solution. For a lot of providers, they just go direct and then they have the McGrath as a fallback. I wanted to learn the fallback so I felt comfortable if I needed to. So if I'm DLing somebody and I like, oh no, I can't get the DL, but I still want to try it for myself rather than having, preceptor or attending take over, I wanted to have the confidence in my backup tool. And I managed to get that. I'm confident with the McGrath now. If I can see it, I can get a tube in it. So with that being said, now I've transitioned into trying to do a lot more DLs as opposed to just strictly McGraths. So I've been doing those. I've been getting better at those. I'm not going to say I'm good yet. I am not good, but I am getting better. I have good preceptors, very constructive feedback from them. Very happy about that. I have only had one preceptor who has been, not going to say like in a hurry, but more of recognized a time sensitivity and was like, okay, if you don't get it in, your first 2 tries, I'm going to take over. It's not because of, you're a bad person. It's just, we need to get this going. I did manage to get that one, so happy about that. It's definitely different to do it on a real person as opposed to doing a DL on our mannequins. Now we have a couple different mannequins at NSU Jax. We have what I call the disembodied head, which is literally just a head and shoulders on a board. And that's a gross simplification. But then we also have Medi, which is the full-length anatomical model that you can do anything to. Like you could hook up the neuromonitoring, you could do everything to that guy. Those are not what it's like to DL a real person. I'll just be the first one to say it. I think I've said it before, and I'm going to reiterate it again today. It's not one-to-one. The motions are still the same in that the procedure you follow, the mental checklist you run down in order of 1, 2, 3, then 4, that's all the same. What's different is basically every single sense that you have for the mannequin is gone. You can't really do an eyelash check on a mannequin. The tongue on a mannequin is not floppy. The mouth is not wet in a mannequin. The mannequin isn't missing teeth. The mannequin doesn't have dentures. The mannequin's not any dentulous. The mannequin doesn't have a variable location for their actual trachea. They can't have an anterior airway. There's so much that can't be factored in. So what I don't want for anybody to do, I don't want you to get really good at the mannequin and think that's all I need, because it's not. There's a lot of nuance to even something as straightforward and as day-to-day as intubations. There's going to be a lot of variation. The mannequins we have, they're basically all males, to my knowledge. They're all on the larger side, so you're not going to get experience doing, let's say you have some 5'2" grandma who's 94 years old and broke her hip. That's not the same as performing laryngoscopy on the actual mannequins. And that's not something you can get from just mannequin practice. And as long as you know it's not the same, you're better prepared. Don't be scared of going from mannequin to real person. Just anticipate that it is different. Recognize that it is different, but still follow all the same steps and you'll get there in the end. For instance, vocal cords. A lot of variation in those. A in location and B in appearance. This is not even close to violating HIPAA. I will share this. I had an individual and their vocal cords were large in the sense that when I was performing DL on this patient, I said it a lot, DL, direct laryngoscopy. When I DL'd this patient, I saw cords almost right away, but I didn't think they were cords. I thought, that's esophagus. That opening is too big to be cords. So I hesitated. I tried to shift my view around. I moved the laryngoscope a little bit, advanced slightly, made sure I was giving good traction, lifted the neck a little bit, trying to figure out what I'm looking at, what am I seeing, going through the same motions you would just like in lab. And then when my preceptor applied cricoid pressure, I realized, no, that is the cords. But because I had that hesitation initially and the lack of experience, I was like, oh, there's no way that's cords. But it was. And again, that comes back to the whole idea of those mannequins are not people. Those mannequins, the mold for the plastic that they make for the cords, it's the same for all of them. So I say that as kind of a cautionary tale. Don't get too comfortable doing the same thing over and over again. No two people are the exact same. And I like that about clinicals. So I've done several DLs since we last spoke. I've done some regional managements. Done some outpatient endoscopy stuff, which is basically just I've put people on a propofol drip, program it in, give them a bolus, do all of that good stuff. And kind of manage intraoperatively, maybe do a jaw thrust if needed. I've had to do a few of those. I wish I could share that story, but I can't. I've had some very nice and receptive patients. I've had a few patients say that I look like I'm 16, which is why I'm trying to... Oh, it doesn't even show up on camera. I'm trying to get a little mustache that's not coming in. Anyway, I like that I'm starting to get more comfortable in the sense that when I'm talking to patients, I have that confidence now. Initially, I probably look like a deer that just ran away from a coyote. I mean, I can only imagine the look on my face. But I feel like now, there's that little bit more of, okay, if they ask a question, there's a chance I'll be able to get it right. Now again, there's some things we're obviously going to have to defer to because we are not, or we as students are not the direct inline care for them. We are accessories that help, roughly. So with that in mind, if they ask a specific question such as, oh, what are the, when is the surgery going to be done? Or how long do I need to do this in post-op? I can probably get them a reasonable answer, but my default is going to be, I'm not entirely sure. I'll go find out for you. And then, go do whatever hoops I need to go talk to whoever I need to talk to. So at some point I'll hit that, but I'm probably not going to hit that until really second year, maybe even post-grad, depending on where I'm working. But obviously if they ask simple questions like, oh yeah, what kind of, what anesthesia are you giving, things like that, oh, I can answer those easily. But if it's a more personalized question, I try not to steal the limelight on those. That's been pretty good. Been doing some pre-op pickups, post-op, or PACU drop-off, things like that. Getting more confident with those, knowing what are the highlights I need to hit. Is there anything, like, how do I know if something's worth telling the PACU nurse? And things along those lines, just kind of building up more confidence with those. So I'm getting there. But yeah, this video is probably not going to get uploaded until I get back to Jacksonville, so might go up on Sunday. But regardless, I wanted this video to kind of show you that, yeah, out and about. And again, if you see me out in the wild, come say hi. I'm not gonna bite, put it like that. So, actually one of the lectures at today was on social media. I thought that was pretty cool. I think I'm still flying under the radar for a lot of people, so that's pretty funny. I don't know who all has figured out that I make these yet, so I don't know, maybe when I start second year I'll be like, oh hey, by the way guys, I've been making videos this whole time. I think that'd be funny. That's just my sense of humor. It's kind of like the Irish goodbye, the Dutch exit. So, I don't know. We'll see. I might give like a debrief on Quad A in my next video, or I might make a separate video. I don't know. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and end this video here, and I'm going to go talk to some vendors. So, or some presenters, or what are they technically called? I don't know. Either way, I'm going to go talk to some people. So, I wish you all nothing but the best. Best way to reach me is YouTube comments or Instagram direct messages. I haven't been checking those recently because I've been so busy, so I'm sorry if you reached out to me, I haven't gotten back to you yet. I'll probably do that tonight. So yeah, have a good one. If you're applying to this program, best of luck. If you're already in the program, hopefully this has been a good comparison point for you to figure out what's been going on. And if you're somebody else watching this, hope you enjoyed it. and hope to catch you in the next video. Take care, guys.